Today we're going to be going over background features. So this is going to be the ability for agents to be able to work without disrupting end users. So the pain point here is that a lot of times there's going to be extra effort for techs to be able to gather information or do specific steps, which can be disruptive for both the end user as well as the agent in terms of the amount of time that's being spent there. So the solution here would be to be able to leverage background access to be able to accomplish things like silently transferring files, viewing system information, rebooting machines and automatically reconnecting, being able to run scripts without having to go through and disrupt an end user while you're going through and automating a process. So the whole idea here is to reduce friction for those end users, right? They can continue working while maybe you're running a script in the background or transferring a file, and it's improved efficiency for both the technicians and the end users in that aspect. So the whole idea here is to increase efficiency and to reduce friction. Now with that, what we'll do is we'll go ahead and jump into a live demo of the background access, and I'll go over some of the features and functionality that can be leveraged within a session. From here, within the Rescue Technician console, I've already got a live session open. Now, if I want to start taking advantage of some of the background features, one of the first things that I can do is navigate over to the File Manager tab here, which is going to allow for me to go through and then start to transfer files. I can either upload files to the remote machine, or I can download files off of that remote machine. And all of this can be done while the end user is working. So if for whatever reason I need to upload a large file or download a large file off of that endpoint, right, we can go through and do that and basically have that transferring in the background without disrupting the end user. We also have the capability of copying entire folders or drives here as well. So that's something else to keep in mind. We're not limited to just one file whenever we jump into the file manager. The next thing we're going to look at is how we can leverage System Information tab to be able to pull info on the endpoint. Now with System Information, we have a dashboard that we can request information, and this dashboard is going to provide us with data such as the breakdown of the operating system. We can see what kind of BIOS version is currently installed, the name of the endpoint, the name of the user that's currently logged in. We're also going to have information such as the resolution of the screen, the CPU. So we've got hardware information about the actual CPU, the speed of that CPU, and memory information. Then on the right-hand side of this dashboard, we've got a breakdown of the disks that are connected, the different drives and volumes that are available, including the size and free space. So it gives us a really good breakdown as to how this machine's currently operating, including the top processes that are running. So if we look over here, we can see potentially any resource hogs that are, potentially taking up a lot of CPU or memory, as well as the last 5 events that have been generated. Now, from here, if we need to be able to copy this information over to maybe pass along to our development team or to be able to keep for further researching, we can do that. We can copy this information to the clipboard. This is also going to be something that if we need to pull what processes are running on the endpoint, what services are currently active, we're going to be able to go through and also capture all of that information and be able to quickly and easily copy that as well. So if we're ever having to escalate situations where maybe our development team or our L3 or L2 team is wanting for us to capture, what kind of behavior or status is the machine in terms of applications that are running, drivers that are on that machine, startup events that are happening, or even jump in and look at the event viewer, we can do that as well. So the whole concept here is instead of us having to jump into the remote session and potentially disrupt the end user by opening up services MSC or open up the task manager, instead we can pull all this information on the back end without disrupting the end user. Now, the next thing that we're going to look at is the Reboot tab. If we need to be able to reboot the endpoint and be able to automatically reconnect, that's something that we can do from here, and it's going to streamline our process. The whole concept here is that if we've made some sort of change on the endpoint, maybe we've updated something on the registry or uninstalled something or made some sort of update to the operating system, we can go through and just do a normal reboot and reconnect. So that way the end user doesn't have to go through and download the application or start the remote support process again. Other options that we have here are being able to do an emergency reboot and reconnect, which is basically like a BIOS level reboot, as if you're kind of pulling the plug out of the back of it. If maybe Windows is in a frozen state, that's a capability. We also can do a safe reboot and reconnect, which is going to reboot the endpoint, put Windows into safe mode with networking enabled, and then allow for us to be able to connect back in with just Windows running on its bare bones safe mode. So that way, if maybe we need to be able to revert back Windows or really try to do a Hail Mary with an endpoint that's really misbehaving, that's another way that we can go through and then connect that machine automatically. Now, the next thing that we're going to look at is a way for us to be able to automate processes on the back end. So under the scripting tab, this is where we can have different scripts that we want to have available for ourselves to be able to go through and automate different tasks. This could be everything from having something simple like a batch file set up for whenever a printer's having an issue, that if you want to run that batch file that goes through and stops the print spooler service from running and then deletes all of the folders or files that are stuck in the printer's folder and then starts that print spooler service back up, right? We could have a script ready to go here that all we have to do is click on that to automate that process in the event that an end user was having a problem with a printer, for instance. So any place that we see that we could maybe reduce manual steps in terms of having to go through and do something within the Windows user interface, that we could implement a script or a command to make things a little bit quicker, we can leverage the script repository here. Now, the last thing that we're going to look at is the history and the notes. And that's going to be our ability to be able to go back and basically keep track of different sessions that have taken place, the date and time that those took place, the duration, as well as the technician that connected. We can also go through and then add in notes, such as whatever we've done to resolve the issue or whatever we did to fix the problem during the remote session, if we want to keep track of that and potentially have those notes for who's done what when. So that's kind of a quick overview of the background access and how we can leverage these different features and functionality to be able to go through and be more efficient in our day-to-day and not disrupt the end user if we don't necessarily have to, which again is going to reduce friction for everybody.